sir. We all got to be sinners before we can be saints. Welcome to my review. And yes, I am half Irish, in case everybody was wondering. I do have an affinity for Irish-based movies. And for this review, this non-spoiler review, I will be talking about a movie I found on VOD, which has been a really crazy year for 2024. So, my fellow friends, welcome to my review of In the Land of Saints and Sinners. This movie took me by surprise. So, if you guys don't know, me and Liam Neeson have a complicated history. I love Liam Neeson, but his last two movies have been crap. Memory and Blackout were the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. So, you get kind of scared going into a VOD release, especially this one was released in small little cinemas here and there. But being that I am a fan of Irish cinema, I decided to give it a chance. And boy, was I not disappointed. The Land of Saints and Sinners stars a just plethora of Irish actors. It is directed by Robert Luns and written by Mark Michael McNeely and Terry Lohan. The film stars Liam Neeson alongside of Irish actors Kerry Condon, Jack Gleeson, Colm Meaney, and Sharon Hines. This is Neeson's second collaboration with Lawrence since his 2021 film The Marksman, which was pretty good. So, what is this story about? Is this another Liam Neeson is the good guy, comes into town, cleans them up? Is there a bunch of terrorists? Well, actually, this brings Liam Neeson back to his roots as far as acting goes. And I just want to say, this is an Irish crime drama. So the intriguing part about this is most, if not all, Liam Neeson movies, he's a good guy somewhat. In pretty much most of the films I can remember, he has a broken past, or something like that, or he's a family man who's got ties or something. But this one kind of flips that dynamic on its head. And Liam Neeson is a hitman who does a hit, and it's his last hit. And he wants to live in the Irish countryside and plant trees and shit. I know, it's super weird setup. Now, I must say the first 5 minutes of this movie introduces its characters in a very compelling way. So you have Kerry Condon, who has been in a lot of stuff. She was in Better Call Saul. She played in Hamlet 2001, 2002. She was also in Rome, and she is a very good actress, a very accomplished actress. I believe she's even got an Academy Award in there somewhere. And she is by far one of the standouts, besides Liam Neeson himself, in this film. She plays a tough-as-nails IRA bomber who, after a string of events in the very beginning of the movie, in a quite graphic and horrendous scene, does something to where she's got to hide in this little town, and she's there with a couple of people from the IRA, and her piece of shit brother does something, and then a string of events happen that lead us to a long, bloody, violent conclusion. So this movie is very much a crime drama film, and it is really weird to see Liam Neeson play a serious role because he hasn't in years. But my God, is the fucking acting in this just fabulous. What up, Deanne? Good to see you. Welcome to my non-spoiler review of In the Land of Sinners and Saints. So Liam Neeson is very good, but I think the standout for this is Kerry Condon and Jack Gleeson, who plays a person who will come in later. And like I said, this is non-spoilers, but he and Liam Neeson are close, or one could say in the same line of work. And what makes this wacky is the fact that it is essentially Liam Neeson is not a good guy in this movie. He does good things for the right reasons, but he's a piece of shit. And they don't try to make him a hero in this movie. And I think that's what is the most fascinating part about this movie is seeing Liam Neeson. Like, yes, in this lineup, he's the least bad out of all the bad guys, but he's still a piece of shit, and he acknowledges it at several points of the movie. But there's something about Liam Neeson and the way he plays these roles where you just can't help but to love the man. And he essentially starts this whole thing, but it's for good reasons. And I think it could come off very cliche. It's nothing new. It's nothing you haven't seen in other of these movies. And Liam Neeson in this movie is not playing like a Taken kind of role. I mean, it's just more with guns, but Liam Neeson is getting up there. He is more of a very good shot, so to speak. And so the role of that kind of stuff falls on Carrie Condon. And let me just talk about her character for a second. She plays what is the name of her character? I'm trying to see. So first off, Liam Neeson has the coolest name I've ever heard. Finbar. His name is Finbar Murphy. Fucking Irish as shit. I love the name. And he basically has done a job, and it's his last job. He goes to the countryside to fuck off and plant trees and shit. And there are so many good lines and so much good dialogue in this movie. And I'm not going to lie to you and say it's action-packed. The action in the beginning, you want to know what's going to happen. And then the payoff at the end is worth it. The middle of the movie is a lot of dialogue, a lot of finding out different things about Liam's past, different things about different characters in this movie, Jack Gleason and his character Kevin. But Carrie Condon, who plays Delaney McCain, steals the show in this. She has a very hard job in this movie. And that is, I've noticed in Hollywood, especially in American movies in particular, they have a way of trying to make women super masculine in order to make them appear to be tough or to have them put down people and things like that. In this movie, she is a great character because she does not do that. Like, she does put down her fucking colleagues in spectacularly funny fashion, but she's very complex. And the event that happens in the beginning of this movie shows the complexity of this character within the first 5 minutes of the film. And I think Lorenz has an amazing eye of how to visually and through his actors convey their feelings about things that they're doing, which goes a long way into sort of getting an idea of who this character is and what makes them tick. And the certain thing that happens in this film that kicks everything off, you can see the regret that Carrie, or I'm just going to call them by their names in the film, Doriana, carries in this movie as this snowballs into a bigger situation. So Karen Hines, and you might not know the actor's name, but if you've seen his face, you've seen him in a lot of American movies and a lot of Irish movies. And he is so good. He plays the local town sheriff, Vinny O'Shea. And there's a back and forth between him and Liam Neeson as he's kind of this old town sheriff. This movie feels like an Irish Western in a way. He's like the old town sheriff. He knows that Liam Neeson has a sordid past, but they don't ask questions as long as he doesn't come into his town and start some shit. And as stuff starts to build towards the eventual climax of the film, you see the pieces moving and the different people positioning. Also, there's another great actor in this, Connor McNeil. He's been in a lot of different things too, a lot of American projects. He plays Conan McGrath, and he is a broker for assassins and whatnot. And it's like the way the movie sets it up is kind of brilliant in the fact that one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, and it's slow little things and actions that certain characters take that progressively build to this big fucking crazy ass explosive ending in the climax of the film. Now, my issues with this film is, one, I hate the VOD model, which is that this film is extremely hard to find in the box office, and there was no way I was driving like 3.5 hours to the theater that was playing this, so I got it on VOD. And they have this trick where you're paying about the cost of tickets and popcorn to buy it at home, or you can rent it for $20 or buy it for 25. And I said, fuck it. If I'm going to get a movie, I'm not going to rent it for $5 cheaper. And that's the trick, isn't it? Because they want you to say, well, I'm paying 20, I might as well just pay the extra 5 to get the movie. Now, on that note, was I disappointed with the purchase? Fuck no. This movie was a gamble, and it was a lot deeper and well acted than I think any movie that releases like this had any right to be. This is by far and away, out of all of the recent Liam Neeson movies I've seen released, this is probably his best in a couple of years. The acting in this is superb. The scenery is gorgeous. This whole movie is shot in Ireland, some in Dublin, some in McLarney, and other different locations. But just the visuals of the beautiful Irish hills where Liam Neeson takes his particular victims in the little fields and shit are really, really beautifully shot. And the surprising thing about this movie is, don't go into it thinking this is like a Goodfellas or Godfather or something like that, where you're going to see bodies dropping every 5 minutes. This is a very slow burn movie. There is a big fucking crazy scene in the beginning. Then it slows down. It gives you background and details into the characters. And then the climax of the movie is pretty fucking wild. There's a lot of shit that happens. Even something that surprised me. And like I said, for a video on demand movie, it's kind of the equivalent of a straight to DVD film, except for it plays in select theaters as opposed to it just being released onto VOD or released onto DVD as you were, and they're just making money off the sales. And Nick Cage did a lot of those movies, and you know how I feel about Nick Cage. But this is a surprisingly great movie, and it's kind of sad that it's been relegated to VOD and very select theaters, because I honestly think this would be a movie that would do quite well in the theaters. It's got just phenomenal acting is the big thing. I think the thing that really holds this movie up is the actors and actresses. And like I said, Carrie Condon in particular, she gives a performance that is beyond what I think this movie is essentially, which is just your typical crime thriller story. But the performances really elevate this more, and especially her. There's a particular dialogue towards the end which was just phenomenal and almost tear-jerking in a sense. And I was just getting this as a click, and I'll watch it and review it, and holy shit, did I not expect these performances. Jack Gleason, it just knocks it out of the park. And once again, he's an actor. If you've seen him, you've seen him in other stuff. He was in Frontier and a lot of other different Netflix projects. And dude, this dude is fucking fantastic. He plays this younger hitman who kind of idolizes Liam Neeson's character. And there's particular moments of important wisdom. I mean, this is all the same shit you've seen before if you've seen these kinds of movies. But I think the acting and the locations are what really elevate this to beyond a typical gangster movie. And I don't say that lightly. I'm a huge fan of the gangster movie genre. I don't think you're going to be putting this up near Goodfellas or Casino or Godfather or Scarface or any of those, but this falls very much into those other gangster movies that are trying to do those same things, because it's not really trying to do that. There's a lot of depth and there's a lot of meat to the characters, and this is far more meaningful and impactful than it has any right to be. And once again, I paid $25 to watch this. And I gotta say, I'm not actually mad with the purchase. I'm mad that they charge that fucking much. I probably would have rather gone the 3 to 4 hours to get to the theater that's playing this movie, but I'm actually not too upset with the purchase itself because the movie didn't waste my time. Now, that's all of my positives. My negatives is the second portion of this movie, where they're kind of setting everything up, is a wee bit slow. You could tell the director is kind of spinning his wheels with the setup. I missed who the director is. The director is, hold on, Robert Lorenz. He did Mystic River. He's done Letters of Hiroshima. He directed American Sniper. And he also was the writer of the 2021 film The Marksman that Liam Neeson also starred in. So Liam Neeson and him have a history, and this director has a way of getting the best performances out of all of his actors. Like, I'd say the real big problem of this movie is the middle portion does kind of dip a little bit. It was as if he knew the ending in the beginning, but didn't really know how to set everything up to get us there. But when it comes together, and when you get to about the 1 hour and a half mark, is because it's about an hour and 46 minutes, including credits. So I'd say roughly an hour 40, somewhere in there. But at about the hour 20, hour 25, maybe hour 30, to the very end is just nonstop action. The middle part is a lot of slow setting things up, kind of getting the situations kind of prepared. And I gotta say, I would have been pissed if I felt that time was wasted. But to be honest with you, a lot of the setup, not all of it, but most of it does pay off in the end. It's just, I think his style is a little bit slower than most directors who handle this kind of material. That being said, there's not one bad actor in here. There's no one who overacts. The performances are very subtle. Even Carrie Condon, she has to play a sort of out of control, wild, fiery redhead, as the Irish like, and she has to be able to be calm 1 minute and then just lose her shit. And she switches between these modes so seamless that she really is a threat by the end of this movie. Like, the shit she comes up with by the end of this film. And it's a very hard thing to do, to make yourself a believable but not cartoon villain, but a very believable antagonist to someone like Liam Neeson, who just comes off as a badass, and to have that thing where you match up with him evenly, because that was my problem with movies like Taken and things like that. I like them, but you don't really see them for the bad guy. You see them for Liam Neeson. This movie hinges on the bad guy, and Carrie Condon plays this bad guy. She is quite fucking terrifying in this movie. And the most terrifying part is how she switches from very calm to angry and calling people cunts and grabbing them by the throat very quickly. And it's a credit to this actress, and I can see why she's won Academy Awards. She is fucking amazing in this film. And this movie was not on my radar. I honestly just clicked onto Amazon. It shows the new movies of the month. I am a whore for Liam Neeson, and I was very disappointed with his last two films. And the title kind of got me. I was like, Oh, in the land of saints and sinners. That sounds interesting. I watched a trailer and I was like, all right, I'm a fan of Irish crime drama. I know most of the actors in here. It looks serviceable, so at the very least. And then I saw the price and I go, boy, if this isn't fucking good, I'm going to tear this movie apart. And I'm happy to report I was not disappointed. This movie was actually really fucking good. I even had a tear jerking moment a few times. There were 2 or 3 scenes that almost got me. And it's kind of sad because I was like, why isn't this in the theaters? This is kind of the shame with Amazon and Netflix and these movies that kind of get shuffled into the pile. So I wanted to review this movie because I don't just want it to be a movie that's kind of shuffled into the ether that nobody knows about. This is a good movie. It's worth a watch. I would not recommend spending $25 like I did, but this comes on a streaming service or hell goes down to $10. It's definitely worth the purchase. Like these all get reduced to like $9, $10. And I think that's a pretty reasonable price for a movie like this. And I give this movie an 8 out of 10. It gets a boost in the ratings because I spent so much money. And honestly, I was not angry about the purchase. I was angry that Amazon charges so fucking much, but that's not the movie's fault. That's Amazon and their ridiculous fucking pricing. But it was well worth it. Like, it was a movie I had no knowledge of. I went into completely blind, and it really surprised me. So if you want a thrilling Irish action type crime drama movie, then In the Land of Saints and Sinners won't steer you wrong. Liam Neeson is back. Thank God. I hope he gets roles like this because the man has done some fucking shitty movies. And I'm happy to report this is a great Liam Neeson movie. I don't credit most of this to Liam's acting. He's doing the typical worn out, badass, ex-hitman kind of deal. I think Carrie Condon and Jack Gleason really carry this movie. But with that being said, they play off of each other very well. And there is a chemistry there. And that's what's most important. And I'm just going to highlight it again. Her acting is fucking phenomenal. I haven't seen a villain in years that's so simplistic in the way that they're written, and that an actress really brings something to that villain that makes them quite fascinating. And even by the end of the movie, they give you just enough to know who she is, but not enough to really flesh out her character completely. And it makes you very intrigued into her past and how she got to this point in her life and why she's doing the things that she does. Because unlike most villains, they just don't make her a cold-hearted killer. She's got certain lines. And by the end of the movie, she's willing to cross those certain lines for avenging her brother who did something very bad in this film. And I know it's simple things. We've seen it 1,000 times. But you can take concepts like those and make them interesting. And I think that's what this movie does very well, is it takes these old, used up tropes in these kinds of movies, and it does something just a tad bit different and adds a little bit of extra. And especially with the it being shot in Ireland, I think the scenery also does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie. There is some gorgeous shots in here. There is some beautiful countryside. There is a couple of things, especially when you get towards the climax of the film, where the gloominess, which is inherent to certain parts of Ireland at certain times of the year, really fits the kind of buildup that's been happening throughout the movie. So I really hand it to this director because he has definitely an eye for cinematography. Robert Lawrence was definitely a director that was not on my radar, but I will be keeping an eye on his work now. Also, this film premiered in the 80th Venice International Film Festival and it garnered quite a bit of acclaim at the film festival. And, I don't really go with the acclaim from these small film festivals and things like that, but this movie definitely was worth the hype. This is some grade A acting, a great cast, and a really intriguing premise. And everybody brings their A game. So, welcome, Jamer Hogans, who said, I know, really. IKR. I'm going to say I know, really. But yeah, if you are into crime dramas, if you're a fan of Liam Neeson, if you know any of the actors through other roles, then I highly suggest this movie. It is an 8 out of 10 movie, and I'm going to be honest with you, it might be low, but I can see this making my top 10 movies of this year. It's very rewatchable. I want to go back through because there's a couple of clues and things that they leave. And it's a very, very interesting watch. It's very intriguing, at least for me, to see also the way they mix the IRA into this and things like that, and how they keep it kind of secluded to this one town, because the movie is shot essentially in one location. And they use that location very well to make it seem like this big, expansive journey. But you're really just going through all these different countrysides as the wacky shenanigans ensue. So I was very impressed with it. I was very floored by the acting in particular. I'm telling you right now, and I don't like to overhype things. If you've been on my channel, but everybody really gives some top tier performances here. Like, there were 2 scenes in particular that really got me close to tears. One, because it came out of fucking nowhere. And 2, it was this dialogue that, oh my God, it was just like, I'm just like, bitch, he hasn't left yet. You get back in there. You get back in there. No. But I'll probably watch it later and let the floodgates go. It was very deep and unreasonably deep. And it's funny because when you see the thumbnail or you see the advertisement for it, you play the trailer, you really don't get a sense of what you're getting into. But there is some heavy shit in this movie. There is definitely some care, and this director is definitely very character focused, and the characters really make up this movie. But if you're a fan of action, there are 2 fucking crazy ass action scenes in this movie. And, I'm not going to lie to you and say there's a whole bunch. There's little violent moments here and there. But there are 2 big action, and I don't mean like Fast and Furious. I mean, for a movie like this, like the final showdown you expect, you get. My only other gripe with this film and why it's not a 9 or a 10 is because the villain and the way that whole thing resolves, I get the symbolism. I kind of like it, but I kind of wish it went another way. And maybe that's just a me thing, and I'm extremely violent and kind of sick. I wish for what they did, they kind of got a little bit more, but I feel like that's more of a me thing as opposed to it being a bad choice, considering what happened throughout this movie. But other than that, yeah, check it out. If you want a nice surprise movie and a movie I had no clue was going to even be a contender for my top 10 list of this year, definitely check out In the Land of Saints and Sinners. And thank you very much for giving this review a look-see. Hopefully I've illuminated you on a new movie. And all the YouTube things. If you like this, hit that like button. YouTube recognizes it. If you know anybody, share the love, share this channel. I'm trying to, really get myself out there. And thank you for joining me for these just quick, as I see it, reviews, my initial reactions. I don't put shit together. I just turn the camera on and I shoot my initial thoughts. Sometimes I go back through and go, oh boy, that sounds like shit, or I said a word too many times or something like that. But hey, you're your hardest critic, right? Thank you very much for watching. As always, remember, there is only one rule here in the Fandom Zone. Well, sometimes you have to be a sinner before you can be a saint.